I come from the land of song, beautiful Wales. Ever since I was a child, music has been my life. I have grown up spending my life traveling the world and performing. I am a concert musician. I have played some of the most magnificent organs of the world. It has been my ambition to travel and film these great musical treasures. Mozart called the organ the king of instruments. This is what you and I will do, travel and film these great royal beasts. The organ you're looking at, I refer to as my organ. Hello, I'm Carol Williams. I'm the Civic Organist of San Diego. Welcome to the Spreckels Organ.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome San Diego Civic Organist, Carol Williams.
This Austin organ is named after the Spreckels brothers. John Diedrich Spreckels was of German descent. His father Klaus was known as the Sugar King of San Francisco. John D. inherited his father's ambition and dedication to hard work. He and his brother Adolf put San Diego on the map. The organ pavilion was designed by Harrison Albright and was under construction in 1914 for the Panama, California Exposition. The organ and building were dedicated on December the 31st, 1914 to about 60,000 people. On that wonderful opening night with choir and orchestra, British organist Dr. Humphrey Stewart was at the Austin organ console.
Good afternoon. My name is Lyle Blackington. I'm the organ curator. It's a pleasure for me to welcome you here to Balboa Park for another concert on San Diego's unique and historic Spreckels outdoor pipe organ. For the benefit of our visitor, let me share just a bit of the history of this great facility with you. Both the organ and the building were a gift to the sugar heirs Adolf and John D. Spreckels. The organ was first played on New Year's Eve, ushering in 1915 at the opening ceremonies of the Panama, California Exposition that was held here in Balboa Park. The instrument was built by the Austin Organ Company of Hartford, Connecticut. It contains 73 ranks or over 4,500 pipes. The largest pipe is 32 feet in length, and the smallest pipe is about the size of a pencil. All the sounds that you hear are natural sounds. The organ itself is unamplified. The percussion sounds such as the bells, drums, and cymbals are actual instruments that are being struck, and the balance of the sounds are produced by compressed air energizing the pipes. We're grateful for the relationship that exists between the City of San Diego, the Park and Recreation Department, and the Spreckels Organ Society, who are the sponsors of all of our programming here at the Pavilion. And these concerts have been a tradition now for 93 years. Our recitalist this afternoon is our Civic organist, Carol Williams. Carol is an artist of international reputation, and we're grateful for the skills and talents that she brings us here at the Spreckels Organ. It's a real pleasure to introduce to you Carol Williams.
I first heard the organ in February of 1982. I had just come to San Diego December 1st, 1981. Was listening to the classical radio station at the time, KFSD, and they announced that Civic organist Jared Jacobson would be giving his Cook's tour of the Spreckels Organ in Balboa Park on Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock. So I came. I said, I like organ, and I've been hooked ever since. Being the associate organ curator involves working with the curator, Lyle Blackington, in a variety of ways, in that when there's tuning to be done, someone has to be up in the pipes at the top of the ladder, so to speak, and that's usually me. Lyle Blackington sits at the keyboard and picks out what needs to be tuned, and I know where the pipes are, and I tune them. So we really work as a team, and when Lyle's out of town doing something else, I fill in for his duties. It's very much a part of our lives, and we take great pride in it and great responsibility in it. I believe being an organist does help me in what I do because I know what the music is demanding. I know oftentimes what stops are being used. I can sit there and listen and hear, okay, you're using this, uh-oh, I hear something out of tune in that, I didn't hear something coming in when it should. And I'm always analyzing what the organ's doing as well as listening to and enjoying the music. If I really get in the music, the mechanical aspects take back seat, but they're still there. But there's a story about an organ is never finished. There's always, you'd like one more stop, you'd like one more stop. And this is no exception. We all have dreams, but there's a time you say enough is enough, and I'm very happy the way it is.
This organ has a proud history of curators. The organ curator's main job is to maintain the upkeep of the organ, all of its tuning, mechanical and electrical functions. And here in San Diego, the organ curator is always present whenever the large metal door is opened for practice or for performance. Plus, the curators have served as console assistants to the organist, turning pages and keeping the music from blowing away during a performance. Lyle Blackington was appointed in 1974 and is the 5th organ curator. Here we are in the organ pavilion. I'm with Lyle Blackington, the organ curator. Lyle, can we go upstairs and look at this great mammoth of an organ?
Sure, let's take a look at it.
Let's go take a look.
Okay, great. Small climb up the stairs. We've climbed them a few times before. There it is. The organ in all its majesty.
So the grilling here is for the public?
Yes, we open this on Sundays so people can come in and get a little closer view to the organ.
You can actually touch stuff here. Really.
The largest pipe on the organ is back around to your left there. It's wrapped around itself like a tuba would be. That's the 32-foot magneton.
The one right in the corner.
In the very corner back there. And you can see how it wraps around on itself like a tuba. It really doesn't affect the tone quality of the pipe when that's done, but it's a way to accommodate a very long pipe in a shorter space. Yeah. And due to the reduced head height there, it had to be mitered.
Now what are the bits of rope string? Right?
Well, those are the tie cords that hold the pipes in position. The largest pipe, I would say, probably weighs probably 150 pounds, something like that. Main body is made of zinc, and some of the lower portions are made out of lead, and then the brass tongues inside are made out of brass, and that's where the tone producing portion is. Down at the bottom at the foot, you can see the boxes down there. The pipes are enclosed at the bottom.
You see that?
Right up above we see the hooded trumpets. And they look like little periscopes, but they're bent over so that it focuses the sound out to the audience. Instead of going straight up, it's focused out to the listening audience to get good sound projection in this open air environment. Immediately behind those pipes you see the expression shutters.
that open and close to control the volume of various divisions.
What division
Those,
is that?
the division is the solo division. And the way you control the volume is by muffling the sound, by enclosing the box, closing the shutters, and then opening it to let it speak freely.
How high? It looks incredibly.
Well, it's probably about 28 feet
All right.
from floor to the ceiling at this point. The organ chamber is actually shaped like a band shell, so that it, with a sloping roof that does help to project the sound out, much like an outdoor pavilion, like the Hollywood Bowl is one of the more familiar places, and so the interior of the pavilion is shaped in that bowl shape, much like the Hollywood Bowl.
That ladder looks really precarious. I mean, where does that?
Well,
go
it's
to?
well anchored, but it goes to the top to access the motor that opens and closes the big door.
So I can open this door, go into the depths of the organ, go where most people don't go.
And then immediately on your right are chimes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
yep.
Yeah.
And over to your left there are some
Percussion
drums, a
center.
snare drum.
It is so clean in here. I mean, you could. I mean, looking at the floor, looking at everywhere, you can almost eat a meal off the floor here. Maybe not. You wouldn't want to, but you could. It's clean.
We tried. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
This is the entrance to the air chest. That
Oh,
one thing
yes.
that's unique about the Austin organ, particularly at this stage of their development, is that they provided walk-in air chests where you could actually walk in under air pressure to work on the mechanism, the electro-pneumatic key action, and so you actually go in to a compression chamber and shut the door behind you and let the pressure equalize, it increases, and then you step out into the main air chest, and above you can see all the pipe valves that open and close that let the air go into the pipes at the appropriate moment. And so the walk-in feature was something that was very unique to the Austin company. I'm not aware of any other organ builder that had the walk-in feature to their.
The point of it was so that you could carry.
Easy access. So do we want to go inside and take a peek?
Yes. It's not a lot of room in there. It's a small door.
I'll turn the organ on after we get inside, and it'll be easier, and then you can see.
Yes.
You step behind the door here. Okay, come on in. However, it is kind of nice coming through the air chamber. To hear the swish of air, and we can recapture that though. Come on in, Kerry.
This is a real little room, isn't it?
Yes.
The heart of the organ, isn't it? The heart of the
Yes.
instrument.
And why don't I go turn the organ on?
Yeah.
When I turn the organ on, you'll hear a creaking and a grinding and so forth. It sounds like it's going to explode, but it's not going to.
Okay.
But you'll see the main regulator and the reservoir collapse as the air pressure comes up, and we'll make some other things happen as well.
That'd be great. That'd be absolutely lovely.
Okay.
Okay. Where you want to be? Oh, you felt your pressure go in your ears, didn't you? Wow. That's pretty. You feel like you're right by a jet, don't you? Wow. That was weird. That was really weird, wasn't it? That's weird when it goes on, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like,
Change of of altitude.
Sounds like you're in a ride by a jet, doesn't it?
Yep.
Actually.
And I think I mentioned, you know, Jared and I auctioned off a dinner for the symphony as a benefit, and an admiral, retired admiral, bid it. And so when he was in here having dinner, he said it reminded him of being underway on the ship, the background noises that you hear commonly on a ship. This is where the air comes into the organ here from the blower. You can see the flap is hanging out here. As I close off the air, the pressure is going to drop. You'll see that the bellows comes in to compensate for the lack of pressure. This whole thing is moving in and out to compensate for the change in air pressure. So when you're playing a big chord, big staccato chords, this whole thing is moving in and out. Then these are the expression engines that open and close the expression shutters out front in varying stages. As you open the expression shoe, it opens first one stage, then another, then another, another, another. Then, let's take a look at what happens when you press a key at the console. Each one of these wooden trackers here represents a different note on the keyboard, like this would be low C, C sharp, D, so forth and so on up to the highest notes. And each one of these is a pipe valve that you see here. And you don't hear it as much being inside the air chest, but this allows the compressed air in here to escape out into the pipe. So when you press a key at the console, it makes an electrical contact that sends a current up through a cable that ultimately energizes this magnet here. And the air pressure in here collapses this valve and pulls this tracker bar over. But no stops are on now, so you don't hear anything happening. It's only when you put some stops on, it trips these bars up. Stop off, stop on, stop off, so forth. And you can see it's very responsive. I can't outplay it.
They look so delicate, though, don't they?
Yes.
They're really delicate.
And this sort of action is unique to the Austin Organ Company. There's no other pipe organ company that uses an action like this. And so this was part of John T. Austin's original concept. And he was one of the earlier pioneers of electric action organs. And it was incorporated in this organ in 1915.
Now for the big pedal stops like the 32 Bombard, how would that work?
Well, similar. These are larger pedal valves here.
That's the pedal area.
This is for the pedal boarding.
Yeah.
And then there are smaller valves as well, little tiny ones. This is for the major flute. Well, it's very quick action, and it's almost instantaneous. The minute you apply electric power to it, this magnet exhausts the air out of the pouch inside to the outside atmosphere. The air pressure in here then collapses this little bellows, and then lets the air, opens the valve and lets the air go into the pipe.
So that would be the equivalent of me playing a key on the keyboard. Right. So that's pretty. It is quick, isn't it? A lot of real mechanical actions couldn't do that. It would be very hard, wouldn't it?
Yep. And if you want, I can put something on the playback system so that you can see.
That would be lovely. I'd like to see, actually.
See what's happening.
That would.
I'll go down and turn it on and Gotta go into.
Thinking about other organs that we've been in, the Methuen organ doesn't have this. I mean, this is unique to the Austin organ. It's incredible. And to think that they actually had a dinner party in here with the organ playing would be pretty amazing. It's going to start playing now. That's the pistons going. That's the pistons going. It really goes.
Another room over here, the high pressure of the solo area. This door has to be closed in order to get in there. Okay, here we go back to earth again. Here we are, back to earth again. These are the pedal Borden pipes that Carol's passing in front of here. She's continuing over onto the east side of the organ. And just beyond, we can see she's just approaching the harp, the orchestral bells. We'll take a look at them for a minute. Going into the pipe chambers. Here we are in the solo, and this is the tremulant here, the fan tremulant. It gives the vibrato to the organ. And this is the tibia up above. There's a new rank that was added to the organ about 10 years ago. Is the horn tuba. And as you look below, you can see each of these rows of pipes. Each of them have distinctive construction characteristic. Each one's different, so each one of these would be a different rank or a different set of pipes. So this first rank is a gamba or a string pipe. This one, and it's called a doppelflute because it has a double mouth, which is unusual. A mouth on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Double flute.
And on the front, we have the tuba profunda, which is the large enclosed tuba, one of the original stops on the organ. And then we can move on through into the swell. And here we have the swell mixture. And this would be representative of one of the smallest pipes on there, just about the size of a pencil. So it's just this small portion above there that creates the sound.
So it's literally that little bit.
This portion. Mm-hmm.
That makes it. So
Right.
it's a long boot on it, isn't it?
Right, that just holds it in position when it's in the organ.
So those are back there.
And those are, that's the 4-foot clarion.
Uh-huh.
And this is probably the largest enclosed division of the swell organ. It has the most number of pipes in it. And then on beyond that is the choir organ, and that's rather tight. It's hard to get in there, but That's those are the pipes that are controlled by the choir keyboard, which is the bottom keyboard on the console. Right in front of you is the clarinet. The next one is the French horn. Well, tuning is an ongoing process, and as you know, we're here at every program.
Yes.
And we try and listen for things, and if we hear things during a concert, we deal with it during the next week, or we try to stay in contact with you as well, and know of those things that are starting to drift.
Now we're going to go down to the blower room.
There we go.
Dr. Humphrey Stewart was appointed official city organist in 1917. Before that, he was hired to open the organ on December the 31st, 1914, and then to play the numerous concerts that followed. Before leaving England, he had established Trinity College of Music in London. While in San Diego, he was the mayor of Coronado. As the Panama Californian Exposition wound down and buildings were being taken down, John D. Spreckels, a close friend of Humphrey Stewart, continued to pay Dr. Stewart to play daily concerts on the organ. Royal Albert Brown came to the Spreckels organ as Dr. Stewart's assistant. He studied with Dr. Stewart and with the legendary Marcel Dupré. As Civic organist, he performed live broadcasts from the park. Charles Rollin Chateau served only for 3 years as civic organist. He composed numerous works for the organ. There are many more interesting details about the Spreckels organ in the history book available from the Spreckels Organ Society. We will now continue with the history line of San Diego civic organists by speaking with them in person. Let's begin with Douglas Ian Duncan. I'm seated here on the organ bench with a very special person. Douglas Duncan was organist here between 1957 and 1978. Douglas, thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here with you.
Douglas, can I call you Douglas?
Of course.
How were you appointed civic organist here?
It happened that my predecessor, Charles Rollin Chateau, had been here for 2 years and 10 months. And he decided to leave. And so they didn't know what they were going to do to find someone to finish out the Sunday and Monday concerts in the month of September of 1957. And they said, would you come and help us? And I was unprepared, totally unprepared, but I did it. And I remember that it was not easy. People thought I should play like Mr. Chateau, and I didn't play like Mr. Chateau. And I didn't play like Royal Brown. One lady came up and said, nobody plays the Star Spangled Banner like Royal A. Brown. And I said, no, nobody plays the Star Spangled like that. But I went ahead and tried to do it. And then there was a 2-week break. And I practiced like, old Harry. I really went at it. And then when I came back, they asked if I would play another month. So I thought they were finding someone else to take me the 4th civic organist. Finally, several people wondered how long I would stay, and I just stayed on. And there was always a threat of wanting to close this facility. And Mr. Dowling was a tremendous help. Leonard L. Dowling was the organ maintenance man, and he advised and worked with me very closely. He drove all the way from Santa Monica every weekend to take care of this organ.
Wow.
A marvelous person. And I didn't want to leave Mr. Dowling behind, and so I just stayed on and played on, and finally I ended with 1,249 organ recitals. 64 times a year.
I know.
It adds up.
That is amazing. 1,249 programs Douglas played here, and he has those programs. That is something else. That is just amazing. That's a lot of repertoire.
A lot of repeating. No.
No, but careful repeating, isn't it? Everybody wants to hear the famous toccatas and stuff like that. I mean, they do, but you know, and you've got to play them every so often.
So after a while, you can play toccata and fugue in D minor from memory.
And you know what? We have a different audience here every week, so I mean, I do repeat every so often. You have to repeat because people want to hear the famous stuff. So they're not, if they're here, they can't just do it once a year.
But Royal Brown repeated. He only prepared just a few programs. He had to play Saturday and Wednesday and Thursday and Saturday and Sunday. I played 50 Sunday afternoons, 2:30 to 3:30, and an additional 12 Monday night classical programs beginning in July, August, and the first 2 weeks of September. And so that would make a total of 62 programs a year. Sometimes it was 63, but usually it was 62. It depended whether it was a fifth time that came into the month, you see.
Yeah. Now, what was the audience size? Was there a difference in audience size between the Sunday concerts and the Monday night concerts?
Yes, very much different. The people on Monday nights were always very attentive, and I used to spend all year trying to learn Buxtehude and Pachelbel and Bach preludes and fugues and trying to do that. Yeah. Sunday afternoons were arranged according to an idea that Mr. Dowling presented, and that was to play classical music first, transcriptions second, and popular transcriptions and arrangements. People like Dick Liebert had written out arrangements, and I played those last, and then ended with something like a march by Stewart or March Militaire or something of that sort, a rousing ending.
Yeah.
And we began with the America and ended with the Star Spangled Banner.
Yes.
Those started on the day that the United States entered World War I, which was April 6th, and Dr. Stewart
had... Sorry, say that again. Was that April 6th? Was it World War
April
I?
6th, 1917.
1917, okay.
And Dr. Stewart...
That's like very few, just literally a few years after the building had opened.
That's true.
So the tradition of doing America and the Star Spangled Banner has been going a long time then, yeah?
Yes, and it was a tradition which continued. We always played it sort of not very Britishy style. It was like a very staunch American hymn, and we played the Star Spangled Banner and in A flat so that everybody could sing it if they wanted to. Yes. Congress had asked that in 1931 that it be pitched in that pitch, and no one plays it in that pitch, but that's all right.
I did not know that. Congress actually asked that the Star Spangled Banner be played in A flat.
So that everybody could sing it.
I'm playing it in B flat. I'm a naughty girl. No wonder they don't sing very loud. So the Sunday afternoon programs were kind of more popular than the Monday nights.
Yes, the Monday night programs were classical.
Yeah.
And
you did all of those?
Well, what happened was, when I first came, I asked whether we could have guest organists, and they said no. And the reason was that Mr. Chateau got tired of playing all the programs, and he had all his friends coming in and playing for him. Oh. And he roused their temper a little bit, and they decided that the Civic organist had to do all of it unless that person was away. So if I went to Bohemian Grove to play the outdoor organ there, I could have a guest organist come and play for me here.
But if you wanted like a holiday, that wasn't allowed?
That was not allowed. I had to take the holiday the last 2 weeks in September, except in the 7th year I was granted a longer period of time and went to Europe and went all over Europe. I didn't study there. That's when I went to play in Finland.
Yes. Wow. So actually what you're saying is very similar to what still goes on now, that the Sunday afternoon concerts are aimed basically at tourists who come in here to the park. And the Monday night programs are for people who really want to hear more what I would call pure organ music, more serious. And we really not so, I mean the audience then on a Monday night is more the, may I say, connoisseur who wants to come and hear a good program of music.
That's true.
And not hear so much of the fluff.
And you've been keeping that going today by having some outstanding visiting concert organists, and your own programs have been remarkably well done on Monday nights.
But it's interesting how it started, isn't it, really? I mean, that is fascinating.
But Royal Brown sort of did this also. He was one who, and I have a few of those programs, and he did more classical literature on Monday nights. The organ sounds differently after the sun goes down. I don't know why, but sometimes there's actually a feeling of reverberation. And that I think is rather important.
And the lights on the building. And I think maybe some of it's psychological. It's more of a restful feeling in the park.
Well, you leave the outline lighting on now during the program. We turned it off.
Yeah.
That's probably a wise choice now because of safety.
Yeah.
People walking. Mr. Dowling had all this old equipment that it was salvaged from the exposition days of 1935 and 36, and he used this and set it all up. And I think much of that probably is upstairs here.
So they literally turned off all on the colonnades, all the lights were off, so
That's right.
that's pretty dark, isn't it? I mean, it would
No, it was spotlights on the console, and it was rather special.
It has changed because now Roy Attridge, who's a great member of the society, he does a lot of the effects with the lighting actually. So opening night or closing night, each colonnade actually is done in a maybe red, white and blue. So now we tend to go completely the opposite way. We like to light everything here, you know. But that's...
Well, times change.
Times change, don't
And
they?
it should change. You
Yes.
shouldn't always have everything the same way.
But I think the philosophy is the same, that you still have to play what people want to hear. You do hear, don't you, because the concerts are free. Do you think that was a major, you know, a choice when you came to choosing programs, that, you know, the audience out there have always had a choice to get up and walk away if they don't like it?
I was told that the park organ was here to entertain the general public, that it was a park activity. You see, at one time, you had a recreation department and a park department. Yeah. And Mr. Perry, W. Allen Perry, was the director of the park department, and this was a park facility. It was not a recreational facility, and so it had to be something that fitted into Balboa Park. It had to be something that people who were wandering through would hear a little something, and there might be a melody, an identifiable melody that they might thoroughly enjoy, and that's what you had to play.
It's still true.
This facility has meant a great deal to me. I was here before I was born at a Christmas Eve program. I don't remember it.
Who was playing? Oh, I know you wouldn't remember, but...
Dr. Stewart.
That's amazing. So you actually did hear Dr. Stewart.
Yes.
He was the first civic organist here. And British.
Yes.
Wow.
It was a wonderful
Yeah. So
thing. And I came and listened to Royal Brown and Humphrey Stewart. I remember only one piece that Humphrey Stewart played.
you heard Humphrey Stewart play?
Sure.
Wow.
Yes, it was Ancient of Days. Do you know that
No, I
piece?
don't know that one. I know some of his marches, which you've kindly given me. You've given me a lot of music. And
No, it was...
was that one of his own pieces?
No, it was very popular at the time. It was a high school graduation.
Oh.
And we knew somebody who was graduating from San Diego High School. The graduation ceremonies were held here.
Yes,
This was
they
a very
still are.
important...
They still are.
Well, they still are.
They still are, yeah. I mean, it's a very popular venue for graduations because it's perfect, the seating, isn't it?
Right.
Of your 1,249 programs, did you have favourite composers that you like to play here?
I think I enjoyed playing Bach. I had a number of preludes and fugues that I liked to perform, and those were done on Monday nights, and not often. They were not so popular on Sunday afternoon. People don't care for fugues. You know, the voices come in one by one, and the people run out by more than that, 2 by 2 or 4 by 4. But I enjoyed playing Bach, especially on this organ.
Douglas, thank you very much for joining us. I have to say a personal thank you to Douglas because you have helped me so much with your, may I say, fatherly help. You've given me music, you've given me insight, and sometimes when I've struggled a bit and not known what to do, you have really helped me, and I am so glad of that.
It's been my joy to know you and to see you here doing so well. You are the second concert organist to serve here. Humphrey Stewart was the first.
And he was British too.
And he was British too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was appointed Civic Organist in 1978. It was kind of a peculiar confluence of things. I had come to San Diego 2 years earlier to be the director of music at a church in La Jolla that had just installed a new Austin organ a couple of months before that, and of course the curator of that instrument was Lyle Blackington. And because it was a brand new instrument, there were a few teething pains, and so Lyle and I became acquainted early on. And he had told me, and I had also heard about the organ here in the park, but had never heard it. And he said, well, sometime we'll get you down there and we'll get you to play it. But then in all the hoopla of starting up a new position, we never got around to it. Then when Douglas Duncan announced his resignation and it was going to be thrown open to a competition for a new civic organist, Lyle says, I think it's time for you to go down and try the organ. So I came down and he unlocked it. I remember it was early morning and there's a sound that I heard, which I always hear when I come down early in the day, and that's the sound of sprinklers in the far reaches of the park. So that, to me, the sprinklers and the phantom bagpiper that lives down here somewhere are the two things that always say Balboa Park to me. So I jumped on the bench and I instantly fell at home with this instrument. Just sitting on the bench, the relationship of keys and stops and everything just felt right to me. And when I was finishing up graduate school, I had gone through a period where I threw myself into learning music without any real reason for playing it. I just wanted to learn as much as I could. And it was sort of a dark night of the soul for me emotionally, and it was the music that helped me out of that. So I just filed away a ton of music that all of a sudden I realized if I got this job, I could pull it out and use it here at the park. When I started here in 1978, the audiences were at a rather low ebb. My predecessor, Douglas Duncan, I know was frustrated with the lack of publicity from the city and really the lack of support for this. It was a very minor budget item that was tucked away in the back of the city finances, and nobody really gave much attention to the organ concerts, so they kind of happened automatically. And there were faithful people who showed up, but there was no sense that this was a very special venue unless people were really organ groupies and came here specifically to hear the famous outdoor organ. During my time, we got a new console for the organ, and we planned for some additions that I honestly thought I would never see in my lifetime, because organists are always planning for one more stop you'd love to have. And lo and behold, the Spreckels Society has made those possible, and so the organ now sounds better than it ever has sounded. The core of the sound has always been the same, and I know all of us organists have felt that we want to celebrate the core of that magical sound that makes this outdoor organ so unique. The changes between the organ then and now that I like the most are, of course, the big rowdy things. The new set of trumpets at 16, 8, and 4, which cap the whole organ, and then to have the roaring 32-foot bombard in the pedal really makes this organ sing. The changes that frightened me the most were the addition of the more whimsical, theatrical things, the toy counter, the snare drum, the bass drum, the harp, the crash cymbal, and the tibia unit. I had to learn how to use those, but now I sort of feel comfortable with that. And it really, if you want to use those, you can use them. If you don't want to use them, the organ still has authenticity as an entity. When we designed this console, Lyle and I had a little bit of a tussle because I wanted to include as many conveniences for the performer as possible. And Lyle is always thinking from the practical standpoint, you know, that if you have too many things, there's more things to go wrong. So I do feel when I play here and he's turning pages for me, I always have to use every button there is, just to say that there was a reason in 1979 that I wanted that button there in the first place. It is definitely an Austin organ, even though it was massaged and tweaked slightly within my lifetime. It still is the soul of the Austin organ from 1915, and it's a bulletproof instrument. It's what made Austin organs so famous, is that it's, besides getting extraordinary care all these years, it's basically a bulletproof organ. In preparation for doing this, I reread the Spreckels Organ history book that we just revised a year ago, and I got all choked up because I realized what a profound impact this instrument has had on me as a performer, and what a profound impact this venue has had on me as a human being. I love working with audiences. I love not only presenting music for people, but also helping people understand what it is that they're seeing and hearing. And there's no place in the world that I know of where those things come together the way they come together here at the Spreckels Organ Pavilion. I feel very privileged that I am one of the, so far, 7 people who have been entrusted with the keys and pedals of this amazing thing.
Well, I was appointed civic organist in 1984 when my good friend and predecessor, Jared Jacobson, left this position to go up to the San Francisco Bay Area for another job. And I actually served for about 6 months as interim while the city did what it always must do for an open position, and that is make it available to anyone who wishes to apply. We kind of came into the deadline, and Lyle Blackington says, "Why haven't you applied?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know." So last minute I submitted my application, and they asked me to do the job. Well, how did the Spreckels Organ Society come about, and why? Well, it was interesting because I played for 2 or 3 years here, and various members of the audience more or less distinguished themselves as having a greater than normal interest in the organ, and began to ask, well, why can't we do more? The Sunday concerts were part of Park and Rec, as they still are, and interestingly, in order to raise money and fund other concerts, you have to have an organization. And so we just got a group of people together who had said, can't we do something more? There's a wonderful opportunity here. And we invited Vivian Evenson, who was a good friend from church, to head this thing up, and we got together and said, what can we do? And we wrote some bylaws, got ourselves incorporated. Fortunately, the city has this wonderful provision for incorporated organizations to use this public facility without having to pay rental fees, and we are officially under the arm of Park and Rec, what we do. And so then we began to see how we could expand the use for the good of everybody. When I began here, the city was funding 52 Sunday concerts. And there had been a tradition, and I don't know how far back, but for some years, that the city allowed the February to be dark, and those 4 concerts to be played on Monday evenings during August. So when I began, we had 48 Sunday concerts, and then 4 Monday night concerts, still under the umbrella of the city's budgeting. Then, once we formed the Spreckels Organ Society, we began to expand that Monday night series. Now, of course, the reason they're on Monday nights is that it's the only quiet night in the park. We don't have to worry about the outdoor stage at the Old Globe and other things where the sound of the organ would, in fact, interfere. So Monday night is when they were, and then we began to gradually expand the Monday night series as we were able to raise money. And once that got pretty well situated, then we said, okay, let's go back and restore the February concerts so that we would have literally every Sunday of the year, plus then the summer festival, which was completely funded through the fundraising efforts of the Spreckels Organ Society. Yeah, we had an English couple one time when I was playing here, and they came up after, it was a Sunday concert, they came after the concert, and the wife was, well, my husband went to the travel agent. I thought he was buying a ticket to Rome or something. And he says, we're going to San Diego. I want to hear that organ. You should put that in. Well, one of the exciting things about my time here was how the organ itself evolved. Again, during Jared Jacobson's time, with the huge effort of a committee of 100, this magnificent building and the organ itself was fully restored. And at the time, provisions were made on the console for adding, I believe it was 17 ranks, additional ranks of pipes. And then when I came along, we raised the money to complete those proposed additions. It's important that everybody realize that nothing was changed from this historic organ in 1915, but the additions added something of the contemporary resources that were not normally a part of organs in 1915. And it was the great skill of both the Austin Organ Company and our curator, Lyle Blackington, that these additions were made seamlessly so that there's just a magnificent blend of the old and the new, and it sounds like it was always there. But if you want to hear what it sounded like in 1915, just don't use them, and that's what it is. And then we added the 32-foot contrabombard, which is the deepest and loudest and most raucous sound. And that they're huge. I guess they were about the biggest things Austin ever built and the loudest things they ever built. But had that tremendous bass on the big full organ sounds, which is very marvelous. And then a little later on we added the tibia rank, which is mainly a theater organ stop and adds a very necessary color for playing theater type of music and some of the lighter things. And all of this just kind of evolved, and the instrument has a wonderful sense of wholeness about it as these additions have been made. And then we also, of course, very much upgraded the memory system and have a computerized system in there so that you can actually record the organ, what you're playing on it and so on, so that it's got, at least as of 10 years ago, state-of-the-art technology. But when I first started to play here, this plaque, which was put here at the time of the dedication, the wishes of the donor, John D. Spreckels, this organ was given to the people of San Diego and to the people of all the world. This pavilion and organ are dedicated by John D. Spreckels and Adolph B. Spreckels, January the 1st, 1915. Well, this idea of an organ literally for the people of all the world was quite a challenge. This is not an organ just for organ buffs. This is an organ for everybody.
Served. Carol is our current organist. Bob Plimpton preceded her from 1985 to 2000, and Jared Jacobson preceded him from 1978 to 1984. They're all wonderful people. They're all wonderful artists. We're going to really have fun tonight when they come out here and show us what they can do. So we give a warm San Diego welcome to the 3 Civic Organists.
So you don't whack your head on it and you stifle your comments.
41. Behave yourself.
Actually, I do need a bit more room.
Oh, you're not. I thought you were putting on a show. All right, and
Okay,
then
it's
16 big hair.
Well, you're going to get that next time.
All right.
All right, wait.
No, up here, right. 2, 3.
What happens? You know, tell me the story when I put my hands on the keyboard. Start out with that sentence, and tell me what you feel and what happens.
What I feel is a tremendous power coming from the instrument, but it's also coming from me too. It sort of comes together, and especially on a big organ like this, where you've got the really big pipes, 32-foot pipes, you can just feel vibrations coming through, and it's a fantastic feeling. And when you stop, you play a really loud chord and you stop, and you can hear out here in the park, you can hear it bouncing off the Museum of Eyes. It's just absolutely brilliant.
What in your heart is the organ? What is the organ?
It's the king of instruments. It was Mozart who called it the king of instruments. And it is. It's just not because of just the power of the loudness, but the power of the softness. You've got a huge, extreme sort of dynamic range from deafening to you've got to really hear it, and that's power.
Talk about growing up. When was the first time you ever sat at a keyboard?
Well, I was sent to dance classes when I was about 4, and I was pathetic. But I stood by the piano, and that was it. I was mesmerized by the piano, and my parents bought a piano for $20, £10, candlesticks. They didn't know if it was a whim, and that was it. Then I started having piano lessons at the age of 5, and I was hooked, absolutely hooked. I could read piano, could read music before I could read, and didn't know what the name of the piece was, but I could sit down and play it.
Now, when you play, and you start on piano, when did you make the switch? What was it about the organ that caught your ear?
We had organs in the family. We had Hammonds in the family, jazz organs. So I grew up first playing jazz organ. Just that my aunt had an organ at home, so that's where I first got into it. And my parents bought an electronic organ, and I grew up playing sort of really jazz organ. Then I progressed to theatre organ. It was like a natural progression. I didn't start classical organ, strict classical organ, until I was about 16. Because in England, the tradition was to go into a choir school and then learn organ, but most cathedrals in England would only take boys. So I didn't start the traditional organ until I was about 16.
And then you had a chance to come to San Diego. What happened?
I was in New York. I was finishing my doctorate, and I saw the advert in the press in the classical music world, and I looked at the job description. I thought that is about the one job I could really do. And I sent a lot of information through, and I just waited and bit I don't have nails, but what little is there I bit, and I eventually was called for an audition. It was a live audition here on a Sunday afternoon, and I gave it my best shot, and I thought, this is it.
And here you are.
And here I am.
What is special about the Spreckels? Use the name Spreckels and describe this particular organ. Spreckels Organ.
The Spreckels Organ, I mean, the history is interesting because the organ was given to the community to give culture. I mean, that was the goal. It was here for people to come here, sit down and enjoy good music, and every type of music. And that's really my philosophy, to give good music, every type of music. I just want people to take their mind off whatever the worries they have and sit down and hear a program of music they can relax and enjoy. And in the atmosphere of the park here, the beautiful park, glorious weather here in San Diego, I mean, you couldn't ask for more. I mean, it really is perfect here.
You play, what do you want us to get out? What do you hope that we feel from Carol Williams? What do you hope that I take with me as I'm listening to you play when you play?
I want you to feel better. I want you to feel mentally that it's worth living. If it's too strong to say that, I want people to feel good and go away and say, I enjoyed that. The organ, sadly, has a lot of bad press. There's a lot of miserable instruments out there. This is a very fine instrument, but I want people to sit down and enjoy and then go away and come back.
The Spreckels Organ Society was formed to help preserve this great organ
to program it and to promote it for the benefit of all people, consistent with the gift of the Spreckels brothers back in 1915. The society raises money by a number of means. Number one is memberships. Memberships start at $25 and go up limitless. The envelopes can be obtained at the concerts, or one can consult our website for further information. Gifts are bought at our gift shop. All the proceeds go to support the program. Members get a 10% discount, so they can do that. We take donations at the gates, so that people who want to help us can make a donation as they leave any of our concerts. And then we have sponsorships. People who are very interested in one or more of our programs or of our concert artists in the summer, and they want to make a significant contribution toward the expenses of that particular concert. That's a great help. And now, for all of you who have been watching this program, we want to personally invite you to come and join us for a concert any Sunday at 2 o'clock here at Balboa Park at the Organ Pavilion. And all summer, from mid-June to the end of August, come and join us on Monday nights at 7:30 for a concert under the stars. Bring your family and friends and a picnic dinner. We'll have a wonderful time together. Come and join us.
I'm downtown San Diego. It's early Thursday morning. We're going into the city administration building. We're going to interview a very important gentleman of San Diego, Mayor Jerry Sanders. Mayor Jerry Sanders was elected the 34th mayor of San Diego in 2005. Mayor Sanders, thank you very much for joining us in our series. And what has life been like since you were appointed mayor of San Diego?
Well, it's been busy. We've had a lot of things to take care of as we've moved forward, but feel real good about the progress. I think city staff's done an incredible job. Things are working really well.
Gosh. And what is a typical day for you, if I can dare ask that?
Well, it's just, there's never a typical day, but almost every day is a long day. I usually try to get down here between 7 and 7:30 in the morning, and by the time you finish up with meetings in the evenings, it's usually 8 or 9 o'clock before you're done. But the good thing is you get to interact with the community a lot, see a lot of people and talk about the issues, and I think that's been helpful.
You give a great image to this fine city. What do you want people to know about San Diego?
Well, San Diego is just a beautiful place. I mean, physically it's beautiful when you look at the beaches and the bays and the way the city's situated. But the community is also a great community. I mean, people come here from all over the world because they want to live in San Diego, and I think that gives us a very diverse mix of people, a very diverse mix of arts and culture, of people who enjoy the beauty of San Diego and also the lifestyles.
You have a really full schedule, but do you actually have any free time at all?
I get a little bit of free time, and I think one of the things that you learn when you're in a position like this is small blocks of free time really mean a lot. Time you can spend with your family, time you can spend going to Balboa Park, time you can spend going to the beaches. It just makes that little bit of time very worthwhile.
Do you have a favorite part of San Diego?
Well, I love Balboa Park. I think it's probably one of the most beautiful parks in the country, maybe the world. I know that my wife really enjoys it. She rides her scooter down every Saturday and visits one of the museums and just rides around the park. So I think we both are really favor Balboa Park.
What do you think of the Spreckels Organ?
Well, it's a piece of history. It's been recently upgraded, and I think the city's very proud of it. It's a great venue for different types of activities, but also for the organ concerts. Draws people from all over the region to come down to Balboa Park, and it's a great place just to go out and sit and listen to music.
It is certainly a great place to listen to music. Do you have a favorite composer, dare I ask that?
No, well, I'm not really into classical music that
or anything,
much.
yeah.
But I enjoy a lot of music. I listen to music all the time, and in fact, when I'm home, music's always on, but it tends to be more in the older rock and roll and stuff that I grew up with.
Mayor Sanders, I know you're extremely busy. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you. I have enjoyed the opportunity.
Thank you.
One of the goals of the Organ Society is to make sure that we have young performers, and it's very important whatever we do in life, there's always the youth to take over. Leslie Wolf-Raub is the teacher of these two fine students, and she is a fine teacher, fine organist herself. There is actually a very great tradition of organ playing here in San Diego. Now the first gentleman is just 11 years old. Oh, he's here. Nicholas Olsing. Give Nicholas a warm hand. Thank you. Thank you, Nicholas. Our second and last performer this afternoon is Susie Webster. Susie looks adorable, doesn't she? She looks lovely. Susie is 9 years old, correct? 4th grade. She's at Christian Elementary School. Her hobbies are speech and debate tournament. She likes sports, playing basketball. And you love dogs. Big dog. Oh, he's gone, isn't he? The dog's gone. There's always dogs here. You love dogs, and you've got a big golden haired retriever called Buddy. Is he here today? Oh, never mind. It is tradition to finish the Sunday afternoon concerts with the national anthem. I invite you to stand and sing louder than the great Spreckels Organ. Thank you for coming. Good afternoon and God bless.
Okay, the next slide. No, left. No, left.